Welcome back to the NFL Draft Bible Player Spotlight Show. I am your host, Chris Shanafel, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. That's what we do here at the NFL Draft Bible, and here we are getting you set for the 2017 NFL Draft. We are presented by the College Gridiron Showcase. Visit cgsallstar.com, as well as the brand new and free NFLDraftBible.com website where you can find scouting reports, player interviews such as this one, and more. So again, NFLDraftBible.com. It is the place to be, ladies and gentlemen. And joining the Player Spotlight Show now is one of the top wide receivers in all of Division II. He's a sleeper in this year's draft class out of California University of Pennsylvania. He's Garry Brown, and Garry joins the show now. And Garry, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. How's this draft process treating you?
Honestly, I'd say it's a big moment in my life right now. I feel like I've grown since the process has started. I've been in D1 Sports Facility in Tampa for about 8 weeks now, where I've been doing my training for the Pro Day. Before that, I went to the College Gridiron Showcase, where I had, I would say, a lot of exposure. It was a great outing. I got a lot of different tips from that showcase about financial things, football in general, a lot of mental things. But overall, I feel like that showcase helped me just to show my ability against, I guess you would say, better competition than I was going in college. And I feel like that helped me a lot throughout this process. So right now, basically, I just to focus on the Pro Day, basically take it day by day, not get too anxious or too hyped about what's coming up within the next month. I say just enjoy the process and just take it day by day.
Hey, you're only going to go through it once, so, like you said, enjoy it. It's probably the best thing to do. And you mentioned the College Gridiron Showcase, Garry, and we were actually able to meet up down there in Bedford, Texas, a couple months back at that event. And I think you could really make a solid argument that you're probably the best wide receiver out there. You made plays all week long. You looked great out there. Do you feel the same? Do you feel that you had you put on a good performance out there as well?
Yeah, I will agree. I would say I was one of the best receivers at the showcase, and I feel like I could have done, a lot more. But I just was taking advantage of my opportunity, to be honest. Knew I had to get a good showing out there just to prove that I can go against anyone. That showcase overall basically just helped my exposure, just helped me get more comfortable with what's happening within the next couple of months. But yeah, I would say it was a good outing there. Basically prepared me for my training before that as well. So things changed now.
And scouts from 30 of the 32 NFL teams were in attendance. Were you able to meet with any scouts down there in Bedford, Texas? What has the feedback been like that you've received from teams?
Yes, I talked to quite a few teams. I would say maybe 22 of the teams that was there. It was more on, hey, I like how you was today at practice. Basically, get your information and just basically the interview process of how you was in college, how you was as a person and as a player in college and in high school, and to fill issues, basically just the whole interview process while I was talking to the scouts. It was more of, I would say, it was more great that I was at the showcase because it kind of opened the eyes to a lot of different scouts that might not have seen or even heard about me and my situation. But I definitely think it was an eye-opener, so that's why I'm very looking forward to this photo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touches on it.
And I think you did open up a lot of eyes there at the CGS, and like you said, I think you're going to do the same at your Pro Day. Now, Garry, talk about your journey to Cal UPA. You're from Ohio. Coming out of high school, I see you were a 3-star recruit. What was the whole recruiting process like for you coming out of high school, and how did you ultimately become a Vulcan?
To be honest, coming out of high school, I had an officer activity that happened in high school that kind of derailed me to go to Cal. I was originally Supposed to go to Michigan State, come out of high school to play receiver, but then I had some issues which have happened, and after basically the circumstances, Cal PA was kind of the only school that was basically looking my way, and I looked them up when I was in high school, and I seeing like a lot of players from this Cal PA goes to the NFL, so I just trusted the process, and I took advantage of going to Cal and knew that I could have a chance at this in the NFL. And it's crazy how 4 years later you have the potential to do so. So, I mean, it was a great experience at Cal for me.
Well, to say you made the most of it would be an understatement, I think. I mean, you were able to see the field right away as a true freshman, mainly on special teams, but you've been the team's starting wide receiver since 2014, and you've had over 1,000 receiving yards and at least 8 touchdowns a season since then. When you first made that decision to commit to Cal UPA, I mean, did you ever think that you would have the phenomenal career in which you did? I mean, I don't know if you could really picture or imagine, putting together the type of career that you did, but how would you describe your overall experience, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, again, a very, to say the least, a very successful collegiate career.
Going to Cal, I kind of figured I would have some success, but I would say the success that I already had, I would say I wouldn't expect all of it, but I feel like hard work, dedication, honestly really pays off, and I feel like that's what shows. Going through Cal, I feel like I've grown so much as a player and as a person in general, year by year, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and I feel like my statistics at Cal will show that growth, and coming from Cal PAD2, it makes you be good and great at every little thing, a little aspect. So, because you're coming from the school and you're trying to reach this higher level, you want to make sure there's no, I would say, errors. So, therefore, every little thing has to be perfect. And I feel like that's what I've taught at Cal PA, not just being a receiver, but being on punt return, being kick return, being on kickoff, and all the other special teams. It made me grow more as a player and as a person.
Yeah, and you've really been one of the most consistent and dominant wide receivers in the nation since you put on that Vulcans helmet. And looking at what you're able to do just this past season alone as a senior, Garry, I mean, career high 91 receptions for just under 1,500 yards and 25 total touchdowns, 3 of those coming in the return game. How would you explain the monster senior season that you had? I mean, everybody wants to go out, picture perfect. Everybody wants to go out with a bang, especially in their senior season. You were able to do that. What would you attribute your success to from this past season?
Honestly, my junior year, I would say I had a decent season my junior year. I had a low ankle sprain. That's the second game of my junior season. So I still ended up with a good season, but I wasn't 100%, I would say, that season. So basically the whole off season, going to my senior year, I just put in my head, I'm trying to go to the NFL. I have to train as if I'm going to the NFL in my senior year. So therefore, I had that mentality, working hard all summer, all off season of this is it. I have to do it all I got if I want to get to the goals I want to get. So I feel like all the hard work that I put in throughout this past year kind of just showed off on the field. So it made it easier on the field, just because of how ready I was going into the season. And I feel like that really derailed me to have the season that I had, and be in the position that I am right now.
And again, 25 total touchdowns. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Now, you mentioned that you have been training, getting ready for your pro day at D1 Sports Facility in Tampa Bay. Can you give us some more details on that pro day? Will it be held at Cal PA? Are you attending a different pro day? And, what are some of your goals?
Yes, I've been out here in D1 Tampa for a while. I'm attending the Duquesne Pro Day, which is on the 22nd of March. I will be attending that Pro Day, and then I'll also be attending Cal PA's Pro Day, which is March 30th. I would say goals. My goals will be at the Pro Day. Right now I've been running, I would say the 40 really is the most important, I feel like. we've been running most low 4.4s, 4.41 since I've been down here. My goal is basically running 4.3, and I feel like I'm already capable of that. Basically, if I run that, I feel like I've shot and turned a lot of scouts' heads, and they're very excited to see that pro day. So I'm just basically taking it day by day, trusting the process, not getting too low or too high or anything, just staying leveled and basically just keep taking it day by day and not even worrying about 2 weeks from now or a week from now, just slowly just taking it in, and when that day comes, then I should be ready to perform.
Yeah, and that 4.4 will certainly open up some eyes. Yeah, I mean that a 4.3 would be sick, especially for you, and to have a couple opportunities, one at Duquesne and one there at Cal PA. I mean, can't ask for anything more than that. Again, we are chatting with the 2017 NFL Draft prospect, the wide receiver out of California, University of Pennsylvania, Garry Brown, here on the NFL Draft Bible Player Spotlight Show. Don't forget you can check out this interview as well as more NFL Draft material over at NFLDraftBible.com. Now, Garry, talking opponents over the past 4 years, who do you feel is the best player that you've lined up against? I mean, is there anybody that comes to mind right away?
Lined up against.
Now, I know that PSAC, man. That PSAC is one of the tougher divisions in all of Division II.
Yeah, I would say corner from Slippery Rock, Titus Howard. He was good competition, I would say, this past season. Going against him, he's more of a taller, longer corners that I enjoy going against. So that, I would say him.
All right. And if you had to choose one game out of your entire collegiate career for a scout to go back and watch, what one game or 2 games would you suggest?
Honestly, it'll probably be against Mercyhurst my sophomore year. It's kind of, I feel like, where I broke through my sophomore year, about 7th, 8th game of the season. We kind of, it was like late in the game. I didn't really have that many catches or yards, but we was down, I'd say, a couple touchdowns. And in the fourth quarter, I ended up finishing with 282 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game with only 8 catches. And I guess going into the fourth quarter, I probably had like 50, 60 yards. I would say that was probably my whole high game.
Yeah, that would certainly a highlight of your career, to say the least. I think not a bad one to suggest. Now, what do you feel separates you from any of the other wide receivers in this year's draft class? I mean, obviously coming from Division II, you already have that chip on your shoulder. You're gonna have the doubters out there. You kind of already proved some of those doubters wrong, I believe, at the CGS. Again, the top wide receiver there, in my opinion. What do you feel separates you from any of the other wide receivers in this year's draft class?
Honestly, I would say my competitiveness and my mentality to the game. I feel like as a receiver, I don't have a receiver mentality. I feel like I have like a defensive mentality. I always say, like, I consider myself a football player before any type of position, just because of how competitive I am and how I take the field. I just enjoy the whole game of football, and I have fun out there. And I feel like that's more of a big difference. I'm more of a gritty, get it done type receivers no matter what. I feel like more like defensive players have the mentality, but I just consider myself a football player at the end of the day.
And you know what, Garry, it's funny. I mean, diving into some of your film, you're kind of like a human highlight reel. You would think that it's a highlight reel, but it's a full game tape that you're watching. And you bring up the Mercyhurst game from your sophomore year. I mean, that right there, you can make a pretty lengthy highlight tape from that game alone. And now final question before we let you go, Garry. Really appreciate your time. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're tuned in, they're locked in, they're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the wide receiver out of California, University of Pennsylvania, Garry Brown, a part of their team?
Honestly, I would say because the NFL, you say, is always trying to find that next guy, that next gem in the stone. And I feel like I'm that guy because I had circumstances which happened which derailed me from being, I would say, D1 in the spotlight. And my circumstances that I've been through, I feel like could have put me down as a player and as a person, but I feel like I'm still in the opportunity of reaching my goals from even where I'm coming from. So I feel like I have all the hard work. I feel like coming from Cal, PA, you have a lot to prove, and I feel like I'll show that each and every day because of how competitive I am as a person. I feel like I always talk about the 3 C's of being I'm very coachable, very confident, and I'm very competitive. And I feel like those are the 3 C's that you need in this game, and I use that not just in football but in life. So I feel like that's why I should be chose like one of the 32 teams in the NFL.
Hey, you were able to overcome adversity, and now here you are 4 or 5 years later on the verge of making your dream come true and playing in the National Football League. And Garry, once again, really appreciate you taking some time this evening. Wishing you all the best later this month at those 2 pro days at Duquesne and at Cal, PA. And we're really excited to see where you land, man. I mean, you're a team's going to get, like you said, a gem, a diamond in the rough, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch your career pan out, man. Wishing you all the best. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you.